She froze like a deer in headlights. Her keys clattered to the floor, echoing through the quiet house. For a second, the only sound was the buzzing of her phone in my hand and the ticking clock on the wall, the same one we bought together when we moved in. Tara, I repeated, this time louder, colder. Whose apartment did you just leave? She blinked fast, trying to find a lie that would sound even halfway believable. I told you, it was a girls' night, she stammered, her voice cracking. We had a few too many. I crashed at Emily's place. Emily. Convenient scapegoat. Funny thing was, Emily called me hours ago, worried sick because Tara never showed up. I leaned forward, tossed her buzzing phone on the coffee table. You sure it wasn't Jason's place? I asked, keeping my voice even. Her mouth opened, then closed. Like a fish yanked from water, choking on the weight of truth. I tapped the screen. The message was still there, glowing bright against the darkness. Jason, last night was insane. Can still taste you. Her hands trembled. Her eyes darted toward the front door like she was calculating whether she could run from this. You went through my phone, she barked suddenly, like a fence would distract from guilt. That was the switch. That's when the woman I once loved turned full venom. I can't believe you don't trust me. Spying? Seriously? You're disgusting, Mark. I stood slowly, took a step toward her. You came home wearing a stranger's cologne. You reek of it. You lied to my face. And you're mad because I confirmed what I already knew. She scoffed, grabbed her purse. Maybe if you'd acted like a man instead of some sad, boring loser, I wouldn't have needed anything from anyone else. Boom. There it was. The truth. The venom behind the fake smiles, the cold sexless months, the silent dinners and half-hearted kisses. She wanted me to break, to scream, to beg. That would have given her control. But I didn't. I was done bleeding for a woman who fed off betrayal like oxygen. You think I'm boring? I whispered, stepping closer. Then let me entertain you. I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out the thick brown envelope labeled, for Tara, the one I'd been preparing for weeks. I dropped it in front of her. She opened it. Printed screenshots. Dozens. Every text. Every photo. Jason shirtless. Tara smiling, half naked, in our bed while I was away visiting my dying uncle. Receipts from hotels. A printed map of every location her GPS history showed in the past month. Even the note from Jason. I wish she'd just leave her husband already. She paled. You think this is a game? I said. You humiliated me. Lied to my face. And now you're going to cry because I caught you. Tears welled up, not from guilt, but fear. Fear that her little fantasy life was unraveling. Please, Mark, she whispered. Let's talk. It's not what you think. Don't. I cut in. Don't insult me by trying to twist this. You made your choices. And now, I'll make mine. She collapsed onto the couch, shaking, mascara bleeding down her cheeks. She looked small, pathetic, like a coward caught in a spotlight. But me? I felt nothing. Just a steady clarity. A fire that had burned down to sharp, clean ash. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. She sat there motionless on the couch, flipping through every page of evidence like it was a death sentence, and maybe, for her fantasy life, it was. Jason's name popped up in almost every screenshot. One message still stuck in my head. He's so dull. I fake every moan just to get it over with. You're the only one who makes me feel alive. That line hit harder than any punch. Tara wiped her face, trying to regain control. Okay, yes, she hissed. Yes, I've been seeing Jason. But it's not like I planned it, Mark. It just happened. I felt invisible here. I chuckled, bitter. Invisible? You mean like how I felt when you faked every smile for months? When you said you were working late, but were actually screwing some married salesman in a hotel off the freeway. She jumped up. You don't get it. You've been distant too. Always busy, always tired. Busy making money so you could play house in comfort, I snapped. Busy making this life work while you were too busy spreading your legs for someone who doesn't even respect his own wife. Her face twisted into a snarl. You're not perfect either. You think just because you didn't cheat that makes you some kind of saint. No, I said flatly. It makes me someone who didn't lie every day for a year. The silence between us was like a vacuum. I could hear her breathing fast, like an animal cornered. But I wasn't there to give her an escape route anymore. I was done patching up her messes. She looked around the room, probably realizing for the first time how cold it had gotten between us. Our wedding photo still hung above the fireplace. I walked over, took it down, and placed it face down on the floor. The past had no place here anymore. I want you out, I said quietly. She blinked. What? You heard me. Pack your things and go. Tonight. No. No, Mark, this is my home too. Not anymore. I pointed to the envelope. The car? In my name. The house? Mine before we married. I've already talked to a lawyer. You're going to walk away with nothing but your cheap lace and your lies. She backed up like I'd slapped her. You can't do that. I gave you the best years of my life. I laughed out loud. You gave them to Jason. And probably others, for all I know. Her face crumbled, and for a second, I saw it, the panic of a woman who had finally lost control of her little charade. But I didn't feel bad. Not for a second. She deserved worse. I walked to the front door, opened it, and stared at her. You've got 10 minutes. She hesitated. Then she grabbed her phone, her purse, and stormed out without a word. No apology. No remorse. Just rage. As the door slammed behind her, I locked it, leaned against it, and let the silence fill me. For the first time in months, I felt free. Empty, but free. Like I could finally breathe again. But even as I stood there, I knew this wasn't over. She wasn't the kind to go quietly. And Jason? He didn't know I'd been watching him too. They both thought they were clever. But I had plans of my own. And they were going to feel every ounce of pain they fed me tenfold. Tara was gone, but the stink of her betrayal still lingered in every room of the house. Her perfume clung to the pillows. A forgotten heel sat beneath the coffee table, like a monument to her filth. But I didn't touch anything. I wanted it all to stay exactly as it was, frozen in time, untouched, so that when the fire started, there'd be no doubt who lit the match. I sat down at my desk and pulled out the second envelope. This one was labeled Jason Walker, HR copy. See, Jason wasn't just some random affair partner. He worked with Tara. Same office. Same floor. Company policy strictly prohibited workplace relationships, especially between married employees. And I had every shred of proof HR would ever need. Screenshots. Call logs. Even photos from the PI I'd hired 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I went that far. I opened my email and drafted a message. To whom it may concern. Attached, you'll find substantial evidence of a workplace affair involving your employee Jason Walker. This conduct violates internal policy and poses a reputational and legal risk to your organization. Sincerely, an anonymous concerned party. I had sinned. Jason's world was about to implode before he even got his morning coffee. But that wasn't enough. Not for me. I wanted face-to-face. I needed to see the fear, the regret, the pathetic, stammering downfall. So I got in my car and drove to their office the next morning, arriving just after 8 a.m. I knew Jason parked in the back lot. That silver Audi of his, washed obsessively every Sunday, was already in its usual spot. I waited. 8:17 a.m., there he was, walking toward the building, sunglasses on, phone in hand, laughing like the world was his. I stepped out of my car and blocked his path. He looked up and froze. Mark, he said, stiffening. Didn't expect to see you here. I know, I said calmly. You expected me to keep being the clueless husband. He scratched his head, trying to smile. Look, man, this isn't how it seems. I stepped closer. Don't insult me, Jason. You're not slick. You left a trail so sloppy even a toddler could follow it. He dropped the smile. Okay, fine. It happened. I'm not proud of it. But it's between me and Tara, not you. My blood boiled. He had the nerve to act like I was the outsider in this? No, I said, leaning in. See, it's between all three of us. But don't worry, you're about to have plenty of time to explain things. To HR. To your wife. His face went pale. I already emailed them, I continued. And your wife? She'll be getting a courier package around noon today. Pictures included. You might want to clear your afternoon. He looked like he'd been shot. Mouth hanging open. Shoulders slumped. You're psycho, he muttered. You think this makes you better? No, I said, turning away. But it makes me free. I didn't hit him. Didn't need to. The wreckage I left behind would bruise more than any fist ever could. Back in the car, I took a long breath. The anger was still there, but now it had shape, direction. I was done crying over broken vows. Now it was about consequences. About making sure every brick they threw at my life came back to crush theirs. But just as I started the engine, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You think it's over? You think you won? You just started a war. Tara. Smiling bitterly, I whispered to myself, good. I've been itching for a fight. The text from Tara didn't shake me. It confirmed what I already knew. She was a woman who couldn't stand losing. And worse, She couldn't stand being outplayed. But this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about taking back every piece of myself she tried to rip apart. That afternoon, I came home to find the front gate wide open. That was my first sign. The second? The door wasn't locked. And the third? Her. Tara sat on the living room couch like she never left. Legs crossed. Wine glass in hand. Wearing his hoodie. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked, slamming the door behind me. She didn't flinch. Just sipped her wine and smiled with that smug look I used to mistake for confidence. "Relax, Mark. We're still married, remember?" she said slowly. "I have a right to be here." "No, you don't," I snapped. "You gave that up the second you walked out with Jason's aftershave on your throat." She stood now, eyes burning. "Oh, please. Spare me the victim act. You've been waiting to play the hero, haven't you? Sending emails, calling wives, digging through my trash. You think you're noble? You're pathetic." I stepped closer, calm but tight. "You broke every promise you ever made to me. You cheated in my house. In our bed. I'm not the pathetic one, Tara, you are." Her face twisted. "You never saw me. You just wanted a trophy wife who smiled and cooked and said yes to everything. Jason made me feel." "Don't," I said through clenched teeth. "Don't pretend you're the victim in your own mess. You didn't feel neglected. You felt entitled. To more attention. More praise. More men." She slapped me. I didn't move. The slap barely registered. I think she expected me to scream, to break, to shove her back. But I just stood there. She was the one trembling now. "You're angry," I said, voice low. "You're angry because I won't let you ruin me and get away clean?" She looked away, lips twitching. "Jason lost his job." "Good. His wife kicked him out." "Even better." Her eyes darted up, panicked now. "And now you're what? Going to ruin me too? You want me to beg?" I walked to the fireplace and tossed the framed wedding photo inside. "Watch the glass shatter. I don't want you to beg. I want you to vanish." "You loved me once," she whispered. "No," I said. "I loved the woman you pretended to be." She stepped toward me, one hand grazing my chest. I soft. "We could start over. Wipe the slate clean. I'll do anything, Mark." She was always good at this, weaponizing softness. Twisting guilt into lust, shame into promises. But it didn't work anymore. "You're not sorry," I said, brushing her hand away. "You're scared." "That's not the same thing." She blinked, then smiled again, but now it was cracked, desperate. "You'll regret this." I opened the door. "No. I regret ever thinking you were worth the pain." She walked out slowly, pausing on the porch like she expected me to call her back. I didn't. That night, I poured myself another glass of whiskey and sat in the kitchen with the lights off. I stared at the silent phone. No messages. No calls. For once, peace. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Women like Tara don't disappear. They retaliate. They twist the story. And I could already feel the storm brewing. She wouldn't go down quietly. But neither would I. 3 days of silence. No texts. No calls. No unexpected visits. I almost allowed myself to believe it was over. That maybe, just maybe, Tara had crawled back under the rock she slithered out from. But then the knock came. I opened the door to find 2 police officers standing on my porch. One of them, an older guy with a clipped mustache, looked at a clipboard. "Mark Rivers." "Yes. You're being served with a temporary restraining order. Issued this morning." I blinked. "What the hell are you talking about?" The younger cop handed me a folder. "Your wife claims you've been harassing her, threatening her safety, and showing up at her work." Bullshit. Tara filed a false claim. I knew it instantly. And the timing? Right after I exposed her affair, right after Jason's life blew up? This was retaliation. Her coward's version of a counterattack. "She's lying," I said through my teeth. The older officer didn't look surprised. "We're not here to determine guilt. Just delivering the order. You'll have a court hearing in 7 days. You can contest it there." They left. I stood in the doorway, staring at the paper like it was written in another language. My hands trembled, not from fear, but fury. She wasn't just trying to save face. She was trying to destroy mine. I read the complaint inside. Pages of fiction. Claims that I'd followed her car, threatened her life, even banged on her apartment windows at night. None of it was true. But the way the system worked, I had to now prove my innocence. I sat at the kitchen table, rage boiling. She was playing dirty, and I was done playing fair. I picked up my phone and called Carla, Jason's wife. She deserved to know everything. Not just the affair, but who Tara really was. I told her everything. Sent her the screenshots, the timeline, the restraining order. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just said, "Meet me." 2 hours later, we sat at a quiet cafe. Carla was calm, focused, colder than I expected. "She's trying to flip the script," she said, sipping her espresso. "Typical narcissist. Burn down a life, then cry about the smoke." "She's taking it public," I said. "Posting cryptic crap online. Making it look like I'm some obsessed psycho who can't let go." Carla smirked. "Let her talk. I've got friends in family court. And once we expose this, judges won't touch her with a 10-foot pole." That's when we made the decision. Full legal assault, civil defamation, counter-restraining order, petition for financial damages. Every ugly detail made public. But I wasn't stopping there. I hired a media consultant. Not to make myself look good, but to make her lies transparent. We gathered voice recordings, messages, video footage from the PI. Everything. 2 days later, Tara posted a tearful video on Instagram. "I never thought the man I married would become this controlling. I fear for my safety." It went viral. Sympathy poured in. But she made one mistake. The background of the video? My front porch. The one she wasn't supposed to be near because of the mutual no-contact clause in her own divorce lawyer's agreement. That was all I needed. My attorney filed for contempt within an hour. The game she started with lies? I was going to end with facts. Not out of spite. Out of principle. Because while she played victim, I was building a case. And when the truth dropped, it wouldn't just end her act. It would bury it. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not the temperature, just the atmosphere. Clinical. Sterile. No emotion. Like justice was some machine that didn't care who bled under its gears. But I wasn't here for sympathy. I came with ammo. And Tara? She came in designer heels and crocodile tears. She wore white. Of course she did. She took the stand first, voice quivering like she'd spent the last week rehearsing with a box of tissues and a mirror. "He used to love me," she told the judge, lip trembling. "But when I said I wanted space, he turned obsessive. He wouldn't stop calling. He even threatened to ruin my life." She dabbed at imaginary tears while I clenched my fists under the table. Lies. All of it. The judge looked at her with polite skepticism. He'd heard it all before. And when my lawyer stood, the tide shifted fast. We submitted everything. GPS logs showing she came to my house after the alleged harassment began. Screenshots of her messages begging to talk things through. Footage from a neighbor's security cam showing her lurking around my property at 3 a.m. Her viral Instagram video, filmed on my porch, where she wasn't allowed to be. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Tara, were you aware this video was recorded at Mr. Rivers' residence?" She froze. Stammered. I was just passing by. I didn't go inside." "But you had a restraining clause in your separation terms," my lawyer pressed. "You knowingly violated it." Silence. Tara's face lost all its color. The judge leaned forward. "I find your testimony inconsistent and misleading. This court does not tolerate manipulative misuse of restraining orders." I wanted to smirk, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I waited for the final blow. My lawyer pulled out the audio file. Jason's voice, slurred and cocky. "Yeah, she said she was gonna set him up. Get him charged. Said it'd make the divorce easier." A recorded bar conversation. He didn't know I had it. Neither did she. The courtroom went silent. Tara's hands shook. She whispered something to her lawyer, who looked ready to crawl under the table. The judge shook his head. "Request for restraining order is hereby dismissed. Furthermore, I am referring this matter for review of potential perjury and defamation charges." That was it. The end of her little fantasy. She stormed out of the courtroom without looking at me, heels clicking like gunshots. The door slammed behind her, and for a moment, everything was still. I stepped outside, the sun sharp in my eyes. Carla was waiting by the steps, arms folded. She handed me a coffee. "Told you," she said. "Liars always overplay their hand." "I didn't do it to win," I said. "I did it because truth deserves to be louder than fiction." She nodded. "Well, it's loud now." We sat on the courthouse steps for a few minutes, watching the world go on. Tara was probably on her phone already, spinning a news story. Maybe about a corrupt judge. A rigged case. A cruel ex-husband. She could have that. But no one believed her anymore. Not after today. Later that night, I opened my inbox to find a single email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line: "I'm sorry." It was Tara. I didn't open it. Some doors stay closed for a reason. I didn't reply to her email. The subject line: I'm sorry, sat there like a bomb with the pin still in. But I learned something about Tara. Her apologies weren't admissions of guilt. They were traps. Fishing hooks wrapped in fake regret. Bait for another round of control. But this time, the line stayed dry. Instead of answering, I forwarded the email to my lawyer. Let her team deal with it. Me? I had more important things to do, like getting my life back. The court battle was over, sure. She lost. Publicly. Spectacularly. But fallout has aftershocks, and hers were just beginning. Word spread fast. Jason was already jobless, homeless, and halfway through a divorce his wife was ripping through like a lawyered-up hurricane. And Tara? She'd gone from influencer to infamous in a matter of days. Turns out the internet doesn't love cheaters who weaponize fake abuse stories. Brands pulled sponsorships. Her followers turned on her. A few even dug up her old tweets, some nasty, entitled garbage she thought had been long deleted. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Karma had a better work ethic than I ever did. But I wasn't sitting idle either. I started rebuilding. Not just my reputation, but myself. The version of me that existed before the lies. I reconnected with friends I'd ignored. I rejoined my old boxing gym. Hadn't stepped in that place in years. The first time I hit the heavy bag, I imagined her face on it. That bag didn't stand a chance. I moved into a new apartment. Sleek, clean, mine. No leftover perfume on the sheets. No phony smiles at breakfast. Just quiet mornings, black coffee, and peace. Real peace, not that I hope she doesn't start a fight today kind. One evening, around midnight, my phone lit up again. Tara. This time, a message. I miss us. I miss you. We were broken, but we were real. Please, just talk to me. Just once. I stared at it for a while. Not out of hesitation, but because of how empty I felt. There was a time I would have read that and broken apart. A time I'd replay it in my head 100 times, wondering if maybe, just maybe, there was something to save. But not anymore. I typed out one word. No. Then I blocked her. Number, email, socials. Everything. She had taken so much from me, trust, time, dignity, but she wasn't getting another second of my attention. 3 days later, Carla sent me a message. She's telling people you emotionally manipulated her into cheating. It's pathetic. I laughed. Let her talk. She's just choking on her own ashes now. But Carla had an idea. Let's really bury it, she said. A podcast. You, me, and the truth. At first, I said no. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there were thousands of people out there just like me. Gaslit, betrayed, destroyed from the inside. And all they ever hear is, just move on. But no one ever tells them how. So I did it. We recorded 3 episodes. I didn't name names. I didn't scream. I just told the truth raw and real. And it exploded. People wrote in from all over the country. Men, women, people broken by betrayal and finally feeling seen. Tara tried to counter with her own video. He's lying. He's twisting everything. But by then, no one cared. Because she didn't just lose the story. She lost the narrative. And I finally found mine. The podcast kept growing. I never expected it to. I thought it'd just be therapy for me, maybe a signal flare for a few others out there in the dark. But by the end of the 2nd month, we had sponsors, press interviews, even a short feature in Men's Health. It wasn't about Tara anymore. It was about healing, about what happens after betrayal. Still, that didn't mean her shadow was gone. I got a call one morning, unknown number again. I answered it without thinking. Mark, she said. Just like that. No hesitation. No shame. Tara, I replied flatly. There was silence. Then, I'm not doing well. I thought I could handle it, but everyone's turned on me. Jason won't even talk to me. My parents think I'm toxic. And now, you've got strangers talking about me without ever saying my name. That's because it's not about you, I said. It never was. It's about what you represent. You're profiting off my pain, she snapped suddenly. You're making me the villain. No, I said calmly. You made yourself the villain. I just stopped protecting your image. She went quiet again. This time, for a long while. Then she said something I didn't expect. Something I'd waited to hear for months, but when it came, it felt hollow. I'm sorry, Mark. For everything. I didn't say a word. Because silence can be an answer. You won't even forgive me? She asked, voice breaking. I already did, I said quietly. But forgiveness isn't the same as access. You don't get to come back just because I'm no longer angry. She hung up. That was the last time I ever heard her voice. In the months that followed, she drifted further and further into the background. New scandals replaced her old ones. The internet moved on. So did I. I met someone, eventually. Her name's Rachel. We met at a bookstore of all places, both reaching for the same copy of The Art of Not Giving AF******. She laughed when I let her take it. Rachel didn't ask for my story. She let it come out in its own time. And when it did, she didn't flinch. She didn't judge. She didn't try to fix me. She just listened. She was the opposite of Tara in every way that mattered: quiet confidence instead of loud manipulation, sincerity instead of strategy, loyalty without conditions. 6 months later, I deleted every trace of my ex-wife from my phone, my photos, my cloud backups. Like she was never there. Like the nightmare had finally ended. But if you ask me what I truly learned from it all, I'd say this. Pain is a teacher. Betrayal is a filter. And sometimes the person who breaks you does you the biggest favor of all. They destroy the life you thought you wanted, so you can build the one you actually deserve. I don't hate Tara anymore. I don't love her either. She's just a chapter. An ugly one. A painful one. But I turned the page. So if you're reading this, if you're the guy sitting on the couch, heart in pieces, staring at a phone full of lies, know this. You're not weak for hurting. You're not crazy for loving the wrong person. And you're damn sure not done. You're just beginning.